Welcome back, students. I hope you all had a good break, whether that meant having Thanksgiving dinner with family or enjoying a staycation. I hope y'all were able to relax and get re-energized because we still have 2 big class items that we need to attend to before the semester finishes up. First off, we have your big plant ID collections project due. Most of the work should already be done on that. If it isn't, please hop to it. If you have any questions on it, or even just want to check in with Erica and I, we are happy to do that for you. Personally, I know that I like to just kind of check in, have my work looked over, just to make sure I'm on the right path. It makes me feel a lot more secure in projects that I turn in. So feel free to do that. Again, email Erica or I, and we're happy to help you out there. After that project has been turned in, we will have our 3rd and final exam. You've already been through 2 exams now, so I think you'll know what to expect, but my advice is just to make sure that you're keeping up with all of the lectures and your notes are comprehensive and organized. That will really help you when you actually start off the exam. And that's all the housekeeping notes I have. And so let's get into this video, where I will be talking about the Salicaceae, and I will be reviewing that family, as well as showing an example from the Salicaceae family. Let's do it. This is an example of a plant from the Salicaceae family. This particular plant is called the narrow-leaf cottonwood. Plants in this family are going to be trees and shrubs. This family, the Salicaceae, is the willow family, and this is an example. This particular specimen is called the narrow-leaf cottonwood, and plants within this family are going to be trees and shrubs. For the leaves of this family, they are alternating, simple, and usually stipulate. There are, in fact, stipules on these leaves, but they're incredibly hard to see even in person. So just trust me, yes, they are there. Now, as for their flowers are dioecious, which means that there are male and female plants. Plants do not have both male and female flowers or male and female reproductive parts, even within the same plant. They are separate plants. And so let's look at this specimen right here. Here is one inflorescence, and in this family, these are called catkins. And a catkin is simply an inflorescence of very tightly arranged, imperfect, reduced flowers. And so looking at this one, I know you can barely see. I'll show y'all a zoomed in picture later when I get out my microscope. But what you're seeing here, these brown flower looking things, these are actually the anthers. Because they're anthers, we know that those are male reproductive parts, and therefore all of these are male flowers. In fact, every flower on this plant is going to be male because they are dioecious. Looking at this next example, you are actually seeing the same thing here. These hair-like structures, at the tip of those are little anthers. So once again, this is a male catkin. Now I would like to show you a female catkin, but in the specimen collection jars, there were only males, which I have a feeling that the collector forgot that this plant is dioecious and only collected flowers from one individual, therefore not collecting female flowers. Oh well. Let me show you some examples of what those might look like, though. Here's an image of what we're seeing here, but actually in bloom. Again, those are all the little anthers in red we're seeing. And for this, that is an example of what that female catkin would look like. And as for this example here, that is a zoomed in photo of what we see here. And if I had a female catkin, this is what we would be seeing, with these teeny little structures on the ends there being the pistils. Now you may have collected something like this for your plant collections project, and if you're having a hard time determining what you're seeing, here's a good trick. If you see a bud on your collected specimen, count the number of scales that's enclosing that bud. Here's a dormant bud. As you can see, there are multiple scales there. So this comes from a populus tree, which is either poplar or cottonwood. Another common variety within the Salicaceae is the salix, or the willows. Willows only have one scale encasing this bud. So the fact that we see more than one scale here, we know that it's not from a willow. All right, let's get some zoomed in images of what we're seeing here. Here is the zoomed in image of the willow sample I was just showing. On this catkin, you can really see all of those tiny anthers and filaments. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of anthers on each catkin. And we can get enough resolution that we can actually see pollen on those anthers. So neat. Let's take a look at the other catkin I have from a poplar or cottonwood. Same thing here. What we're looking at are hundreds, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of anthers tightly packed together on this catkin. Remember, because this plant is dioecious, we're not going to find any female reproductive structures on this plant. If we see one anther, we can expect to only see anthers and male reproductive parts. Love these scopes. We can get such amazing resolution. All right, with that, let us talk about the last thing I'd like to discuss today. Now, briefly, I want to talk about the Elaeagnaceae family, or the oleaster family. It's a very, very small family, but one of the members is this species right here called Russian olive. This is classified as a noxious weed in Colorado, but it's got one really cool feature that I'm going to show you back under the scope. Here is the zoomed in leaf of that Russian olive. And what I want to demonstrate here are the tiny peltate scales that can be found on the leaves, reproductive parts, even stems of these Russian olives. Now let's zoom in and look at these a little bit more closely. There we are. Peltate means umbrella-like, and I think you should be able to see why. What you're looking for, centered in my screen, is one peltate scale. There is basically the stem of the umbrella, you could say, and then surrounding that is the rest of the umbrella. So it's like a stalk, or you could think of it as a mushroom, maybe. That might be a better analogy. A stalk with an umbrella head to it. And these absolutely coat this leaf. You don't see them every day. They're not always this numerous. So it is great to see why when you see a very silvery plant, up close it might be covered in hundreds of thousands of these scales. Pretty neat. Ooh, there's a good image right there. Well, that is all I have for you this week. Enjoy the last 2 weeks of class, and if you have questions, let me know.